Recording is started, but it's still 6:29.
Wait till it says 6:30. Thank you.
That means
So with David online, we've got 6.
you need to do a roll call vote.
Yeah,
In person, online is the part of the forum.
No, but you're good.
yeah, we're good. All right, good evening. It is 6:30. You're gonna call to order the meeting of September 11th, 2025 Enfield Budget Committee. We do have 5 here in the room. We have 1 online with Dr. Buffet. Dimitri has informed me that he will not be here present, nor will he be online this evening unless something changes. So we should do a roll call vote. Dr. Buffet, if we could start with you, please, your name and just here.
Dave Buffet here remotely. Try again. Dave Buffet here remotely. Can you hear me?
Oh, we got it, David.
John Cloak here. Dan Regan here.
Jean Patton here, Nancy Smith here.
All right, good evening. We have a number of things to go through. I see that everybody got their packets. We're going to start with the approval of the minutes from August 28th. I hope everybody's had a chance to review them. Anybody?
You got a long in there. You barely put an E there. But you got all the E's.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? Any other changes? Very nice minutes.
I
Very
just
nice.
have one question, just a simple thing. Because, and I saw online or somewhere it says AI assisted. And it's not that I have a huge problem with it, but I noticed that these minutes now are done a little differently where it's not quoting who said what. And just curious, is that how we're gonna do minutes going forward? Or?
Should, and we should have always done. Yeah, we shouldn't quote people unless it's a real specific reason.
Can I ask that people speak toward the owl so I can hear?
We are.
Yes, David, I'll just repeat the question. It was, we don't specify who said what in the minutes with this new format. Are we gonna continue that way? And Ed said, yes, we are.
Yeah, we'll probably stay that way. And we'll add stuff in if there's like a really big point. One of the things on budget committee when we get near the end is certain people may, vote the budget down or do something for a certain reason, and we'll make sure to document
Okay.
that.
Okay,
General discussion, we don't need, Dan said this and Gene said that.
yeah. David, were you able to hear that?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second, no further discussion. Could we have a voice vote, please?
Roll call vote, right? We need a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, voice vote, yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
David, go ahead.
Yes,
Joe
Yes.
Green. Jane Plummer, yay.
John Cloak, aye.
Dan Regan, aye.
Jean Patton, I.
Nancy Smith, aye.
All right, the next order of business we need to make a selection of a budget committee members for the Regional Organizational Budget Review Subcommittee. I know the folks that have done it in the past have done a very nice job. Do we have any volunteers for that? 1, 2, and 3? Perfect. 3 is about the right
We
number?
recommend 3. That's what we've had in the past.
Perfect. Do we need a chair of the group?
We could probably just appoint them and they can work together.
Perfect. All right, so let the minutes show, please, that Shirley Green, Jean Patton, and don't tell me, Jane, not Jane. Well, it's embarrassing. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it is.
I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Look at the minutes. Nancy
I'm
Smith.
looking- Nancy, and Nancy. Darn. It's funny because I looked up the list today and I said, what was the new woman's name? It's Kristen. And I said, oh, good, now that I have it. No, not Jane Plumley. You're pointing to Jane Plumley, Nancy Smith.
Oh,
Regionals.
It wasn't, it was Nancy.
He started, it's early.
Yeah, good.
yes, I'm sorry.
Let the record show that those are the
Further
three people.
confused.
I apologize. Good. Ed, what is the timing on, the review of those, regional organ?
The applications are due October 15th, so we have some time before they're due.
Okay,
Chantel is our staff member that will correlate them, put them together, and then work with the three people from the budget committee to set a meeting soon after that, so we can review that and get it back to you. I don't remember what date we put on the budget calendar, but I want to say it's the beginning of November, maybe late October, when we'll come back and review that with the budget committee. What,
Yeah, we did.
Isn't it in December?
was it in December? I think it was
It's
before
not
then, 'cause
early.
we were moving into budget review by December, so it's in that, I think it's in that November timeframe. But
okay. So last year we had, one organization that failed to meet the timeline. And do we want to do anything special or is it on them to meet the timeline?
all the groups that have given money in the past have been contacted and reminded of what the date is. So,
Okay. So if a group this year were not to meet the timeline, are we saying then they don't
That we
get?
don't consider.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty
I mean, that's not too much to ask.
No,
It doesn't appear to be, no.
no.
Okay. All right, thank you. So Ed's now gonna take us through the financial overview. And we'll start with the 2025 TFA health insurance projections.
okay, yeah, we can
Or you
start
can
with
go
that.
whatever order you want. Don't worry about it.
We'll start there, and then we'll just kind of go deeper into the financials, but, I had talked last meeting and we talked last year that this PFA program was like an HRA, and whatever money we had left over, we can use to offset this year. We had a meeting last week and it's not the greatest news ever, but if you look through this, we budgeted 115,837.08 for claims. Total claims to date is 71,508.85, which if we just do projections forward, it puts us at about 119,027.63, which is a negative 3,190.55. So I guess the thing to take away from this meeting right now is we're probably not gonna have much money to write down insurance, if any. So we'll continue doing that. We're gonna push some education out to the employees on how to be looking for ways to save money. It's amazing that, I don't wanna say where, but one hospital might be $10,000 to $15,000 for an MRI and another one will be $5,000. And you can, if you do a little shopping around on some of those types of services, you can save money. So we'll continue to try to educate our employees that way. See if we can bring those down in the future, but, with this, it looks like we're not gonna have money to offset any costs moving forward. And then we're waiting till October when our rates will come out on what increases are gonna look like. We're estimating in talking with them that we're probably gonna see something in the 10 to 12% range, which is fairly common what people are seeing this year. I have heard a few others that are with Health Trust who we were with before, who are getting larger than that increases this year. So I can't tell you what we would have gotten there, but we'll wait for Anthem to bring something out and see what actually happens.
And just to tag on to your conversation, which I know we talked about this, I think it was last year, I had mentioned it to you when you talk about education for employees about the fact that Dartmouth Hitchcock has a financial assistance program for both medical visits, and they also have a program for medication assistance for people that have medications that they can't afford, and it's not really a complex process. I mean, that's what I did when I retired from there. And it's really helped a lot of people. So, you know, I think employees should certainly think about looking into that if they are really struggling and can't pay for things.
I looked at it, we'll look at it again, and I'll continue to tell them, but
Yep.
it's kind of hard when they pay 100% of that cost. So down through their deductible.
Jean,
Yeah.
are you aware whether other hospitals and clinics in their network have the same process, or is it one umbrella, or is it each one separate?
Any clinic that belongs to Dartmouth Hitchcock, as well as Alice Peck Day, is part of that whole financial assistance package.
Good, thanks for clarifying.
The medication, so it's really expensive.
Ed, are these numbers through July or?
They're pretty close to date.
Okay,
I'd have to look back exactly. I think they're through August. I think they just pulled them. We had our meeting last week and they were up to date.
Okay.
And then they had the projections through Anthem and then what they see.
gotcha. So is there any reason to expect that, these numbers would grow significantly in the last couple of months of the year?
I don't think they will, but that's something we're just gonna have to continue to watch and look at. We did budget a little bit extra to cover if there was some in there, so I'm not worried about the budget side of things.
Okay,
I just don't think we're gonna have any money
Anything
to
carry.
roll over to
Yeah.
help offset for next year, so we'll be budgeting accordingly.
all right, thank you.
If you go to your, I'm gonna say next sheet, but I'll hold it up, it's the little spreadsheet without lines. This is just a breakdown. We talked last meeting a lot about revenues and cash in the bank and stuff, and these are our main operating accounts in the bank. I had Elisa pull me a bank statement and then I just created this and I'll kind of explain the town clerk account. When the town clerk gets paid, all the money goes into that account. And then, I don't want to say weekly, but every so often, we move money out. We try to keep it in the $50,000-$60,000 range. So when it gets over that, we can sweep it down into the operating account.
Correct.
Our operating account is our primary checking account. Right below that, right now, or as of a week ago, or when we pulled it, it had $3,231,031.57. I think about 40,000 of that, if I remember correctly, was in the actual checking account, and then we have a sweep account tied to that. So what it does is money's in the sweep account. If we write a check and it's over the 40,000, it automatically pops in our checking account, gets paid. But in the sweep account, it's some complex system to keep us FDIC insured, even with over $200,000. And then there is a little bit of interest that accrues on that checking account sweep, 0.05%, or most checking accounts get nothing. If you look below that, we have the building project savings. That's what we're calling it right now. We actually opened that savings account to have a savings sweep that got us a little bit more money. But about the time we were opening that account is when we were pulling all the money and getting the building loans. So we decided just to keep that money separate, we'd put the building account money in that savings account. And we'd operate out of our operating account. So right now we have $3,589,736.74 in there. We have been reconciling those accounts and we're gonna be moving about $1.2 million of that into the checking account from just payments that did not get moved over as we moved through. I guess that's good news. It's better to keep it in the 2% account than it is in the 0.05% account. But we will be moving that over soon as we reconcile out the building project savings. And same thing there. It's a sweep, so that money leaves. It gets a little bit more interest rate. It keeps us FDIC insured, or yeah, we don't have the liability of that. If you look below, we have a few funds that I'm gonna call pass-throughs. Some of them aren't really pass-throughs, but we have the conservation fund for the Conservation Commission, where some money goes in there. Mascoma Youth Sports is collected from other towns and registration fees, and we're using that money to run youth sports. And then the Upper Valley Prosecutorial Association, we actually manage that for the Upper Valley Prosecutorial Association, which is multiple towns that pay in to have a prosecutor on staff. So those are some funds we have out there. And then I didn't list them all, but we have 4 escrow accounts, and I did look into those after looking through the bank accounts, and all 4 of those can actually be closed out. Of that, about 2,000 of it looks like it's town money, and the rest of it will go to other contractors and things that we were holding escrow on them for. So that's really kind of the overview of our cash accounts. This does not include what's in the CRF funds and those things that are under trustee of trust funds. These are just the cash accounts to pay our monthly bills. $3 million up there may sound like a lot, but when you look at the fact that we pay the school over $900,000 a month, our monthly bills, if you divide the expenses we put in the budget, are a little over 800,000 a month. It's only a couple months worth of cash flow.
Do we still have money to pay on the safety conflicts?
We do have some to pay on that. We'll have some to pay on Whitney Hall. But we're, for the most part, we're done with those, and we're in the middle of trying to reconcile those accounts and close some things out. And so, but both of those accounts or both of those projects look like they're coming in slightly under budget.
So at the conservation fund, remind me, like, where do those funds, where are those generated from? What creates that?
Well, I think they can do some fundraising, but we also have a line item in the budget a lot of times where some money goes into the conservation fund on an annual basis
Okay.
from the taxpayer.
And are those funds,
Ask the conservation lady.
And if we have any left over at the end of the year, it doesn't go into the general fund, it goes into our conservation fund?
No,
No.
no.
That's
you
not
have-
right?
No. Your budget
It's
is your
different.
budget.
Yeah.
There's $1,200 and $1,250 budgeted
Yeah.
this year and the past couple of years. That amount just automatically goes in, so it's a budgeted amount.
Mhm.
And otherwise
But if
it
we
has to
don't
go to a
spend it-
town. It does,
It
We
doesn't-
don't.
it goes to the general fund. Anything else you don't
Right.
spend.
Ah,
Otherwise you have to have a vote at town meeting every single year.
uh-huh.
So
Well, I read
This is one
somewhere,
way
where did I
to-
read it? Must
to have
read
the-
You know,
That it went in the
let's-
general
let's-
fund.
no.
are now those funds used for things like trail improvements and that, or
The
not?
Conservation Commission can use them for what they need to do for conservation purposes.
Okay,
We do budget, or we have the last couple of years, $1,000 a year for trail maintenance, those types of things. But yes, if they needed to rebuild a bridge that was more than $1,000 or something, they could go to the Conservation Commission and they could vote to use some
Okay.
funds to do that.
Ed, I know that the last meeting I brought up the thought of, are we maximizing our money? You and I had a good conversation this week. Can you share some of that? As far as a way to dig into it a little bit further, maybe outside of this full committee?
Yeah, one of the things that I looked at, I had talked to Dan and Dimitri a little that, you know, not that those aren't investments are a good idea, but it's really getting away from the mission of the budget committee as a whole. So, I talked with Sasha, the treasurer, who's statutorily, it's her job to look at the investments, those types of things, and then talked with Dan and them that I think it'd be a good idea to get, I would like to see Dan and Dimitri, who are pretty smart at this, and see if Eric Russell would join us to have a couple meetings with the bank to really understand the sweep accounts, how those things work, and then to set some sort of policy or procedure.
Mhm.
So when we have so many months worth of cash or something, then we make this type of investment move, just so we are all on the same page of how we're investing our money and how we can maximize the cash flow side of things. It'll be a whole different meeting, and I definitely will help with that, to talk with the trustee of trust funds and look at the trust fund type money, CIP money, those things, and how they're invested, what types of things they're doing, and see if there's a way to maximize that.
Thank you. And the reason I asked Ed to review that is I don't want to be getting out in front of the select board or the budget committee or anybody. I want to be completely transparent. This is just an idea at this point. And I want to get buy-in from all involved, but I don't see a lot of downside with it, as long as everybody is informed of the research that we're doing. And then the conclusion of that research, and then before anything were to be done, I understand there's some history with investing. And make sure that it's transparent.
Yep.
And if we find a way to make a few extra dollars, through legitimate investments
say
with
legal.
legitimate institutions, what?
Legal.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I guess I'm not necessarily asking for comment now, but if you'd like to comment, please go ahead.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah.
That's my comment.
I told Dan, we can start now. It's probably not something that'll be finished by the end of putting the budget together, but
Mhm.
like we've done the last couple years, you know, asking to look into the transfer station, those types of things. I'd like to look into if they would be willing, not only the cash side of things, but just to look at our fees, look at our revenues, look at ways that we can maximize our revenue side of things. I think it's a good time to look at that as a town and move forward, see if there's anything we can do to, again, help bring the tax rate down just a little bit. It's probably not gonna make a big difference, but if we can maximize it, we can maximize it.
I would be interested in attending that meeting if it was possible.
The comments?
No.
I think if we just gotta make sure that if we're gonna keep it as a subcommittee, there's not a quorum involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even wanna call it a budget committee thing. Like I said, it's really moving away from the budget committee's purview, but I think it's really important that the budget committee understand how the finances are working and that we are maximizing what we can maximize, and
Finding out the answers and what's possible.
we can definitely come back and help you guys.
I just think
understand it.
that's another route of all the more information that we can present and show to the taxpayers that, look, this is what we've been working on, this is what we're doing. It shows a good intention that we're really trying to make a difference, and I think that really matters a lot in the end.
Good point.
Don't have a lot to go through on the MS9. I just wanted to make sure to get that in front of you guys. You know, offhand, the ones we closed last week, last year, we closed the sidewalk construction fund. I know that.
Reappraisal is closed.
Reappraisals.
Closed. Salt sand facility, I'm quite sure is closed. Sidewalk is closed. Let's see, library
Municipal.
building is closed.
Municipal facilities is closed.
I believe the land acquisition is also closed.
Oh, yeah.
What about the
Municipal.
I'm not sure
facility.
about fire and vehicles and ambulance, I believe maybe as well, but
We'll double check on
We'll
those.
Yeah, I thought we did close that.
I think we did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which one?
the fire
The fire
vehicles.
and our vehicles. So the rest of those should be open. I don't want to say available, but they're open and available. So I just wanted to bring this forward. We've had a couple times over the last couple of years where we were planning projects, budgeting projects, and later in the process, we were like, oh, we may have a little money there. So
Yeah.
just get that in front of you guys to be looking at. So as we're talking through the budget, if something comes up of, wait, we had some reserve money there, we can definitely look at that.
Yeah, see, the library building one had been there a long time, but
Yeah.
also lost a lot of money on it, on investments.
No, really.
Think about.
And is it safe to, take the total of this sheet, which is 2.3 and change, and add it to the previous sheet, which is 6.9, and say that we have,
No,
no,
because all the ones we just said are closed and there's no money in there.
Right.
so if I'm looking at the total, it's the end of year balance.
Minus, yeah, this was from last year's.
Okay.
report, Then we
Minus,
closed stuff.
Minus all the closed ones.
Yep.
Okay. So do you know what the actual total is?
No, we'd have to go in and add them all up by hand, but
Okay, so
we
we're
get
gonna have
that to you and they would be in, I mean, it would be cash on hand, but those are all in the trustee of trust funds
Okay,
investments. They're not in the bank anywhere.
okay.
They're in investments somewhere.
They are in investments somewhere, but we don't necessarily know what those
They're with the
investments are.
Bank of New Hampshire, but no, that's the trustee of trust funds job. We don't get involved in that at all in the town office.
Okay,
Talk to them, but that would be one of the meetings that we would have with them. Where is it? Like I said, we could probably schedule a meeting with them with the Bank of New Hampshire to understand that a little bit in more detail, but
okay.
Do we know
Is
what
it-
the bottom line is?
That's,
we'd have to add that up. We
Yeah.
didn't do it for this meeting, but
but then for the next meeting, could you give us that?
we can try. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can definitely look at what funds we still have open and add off of this sheet. That's not gonna be to date,
Yeah,
but it'll be the last numbers that we have.
okay. Thank you.
Then in your packet is the MS 434. This is the report that we do this time of year and give it to DRA. What it's really doing is updating our revenues from what we had budgeted to what we have going through. I didn't put the budget numbers in here. Maybe we should have, but long story short, when you look through this is we have about $100,000, a little bit more than $100,000 in total revenue more than what we budgeted. So we're doing pretty well. There's a few numbers in here. Let me see if I can find some, like income from departments, 136. We left that alone. We didn't quite have enough information right now to make a change in that, but those might be modified slightly when we're setting the tax rate. But overall, I think this is just some good news. We can look at last year's budget. You guys can look at that in the town report to see what we budgeted and then where we're at now. But like I said, for the most part, we're on the good side of things. We're going in a way where the tax rate will be less than what we projected. There's a few items in here which we might be able to salvage, but we had 80,000 in revenue for the Shed Street sale, which does not look like it's gonna happen this year. We're still waiting on DES and working on some environmental stuff.
I'm sorry, I'm behind already here. Yes.
Page 3, I think Ed's talking about, right,
Um,
Ed?
So start with where do we get the $100,000 that we're over in revenue? Is that from page 4?
It's from all of it, but if you looked at the last page, 404, the 6917204 is total revenues and credit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's our current
Albert can look
projection.
up, but our projection was,
Actually, our projection was 6,700,000 something thousand.
yeah,
These, so it comes here to the subtotal of revenues, now at 6.8. And then we have the 71,000 from fund balance. And that brings it to 6,917,204.
So that means we're 217 over, not 100,000 over. Is that,
but we'd have to get the exact number for you, and I didn't know.
It's more like $171,000 over what was budgeted last year.
I was going the 6917 over 6700.
Yeah, but 6700 is not the exact. We were right in that ballpark. We don't have the
It was almost-
exact
It
number.
was almost exactly 100,000. It was really close to
Okay.
100,000.
All right,
Plus the amount voted from fund balance.
that is good news. Thank you.
So.
Okay, I
So
got
good
that.
news is we're trending in the right direction to not have as big a tax increase as we had hoped, and that's what we tried to do. We talked a lot last year about budgeting revenues conservatively, so we would come in over. And it looks like we're trending in that direction.
Great.
Fairly confident that we will be there.
So Ed, what about, meals and rooms tax distribution? I keep hearing rumblings about the state is not really done yet with cutting back revenues.
What they did talk about coming out of the legislature is that we should be getting the same amount that we got last year.
Oh.
We budgeted that down, so I expect that to be more of a good news story this year, but the way that they changed the law, it may still be trickling down over the next few years. I need to understand that a little bit more.
Okay,
I think if we continue to budget that a little bit conservatively moving forward, that will be in good shape there. But we'll continue to watch that, but we should be getting more than what we budgeted.
Okay.
On page 3 or 10, whichever it is, there's, interest on investments, 20,000. Where's that?
Yeah.
Is that from
That's from,
check accounts?
the 2%, 0.05%. So over the year, we'll get about 20,000 in investments or what we're. And again, these are still all projections based off the best data that we have right now. We're just a little over halfway through the year and they'll be setting the tax rate in November. So we'll update those again in November, right before tax.
You'll update all the estimates in November.
We won't update all the estimates. They'll be pretty close to this, we think, but there's gonna be some things. They'll adjust meals and rooms, those types of things. They'll know soon exactly the dollar we're getting and they'll change that for us.
Got it.
And then when we get to the end, if there's something that's off, we'll let them know.
And the property that you're talking about, Ed, is on page 3.
The 90,000.
Yeah. That's what you projected, but we're not gonna end up
We
getting.
won't end up getting that from Shed Street, but at the October meeting, we're gonna have a public hearing on the Depot Street and Union Street building. If we decide to sell those and list them, we might sell one or both of those before the end of the year, which might be able to help us, but if not, that'll be a 0, which will bring us down another 90.
Can I just ask a quick question? I'll try not to drag that piece of it out. That the depot building, since we don't own the land, but we own the building, how is that gonna work? I mean, is the person gonna have to move that building?
That would be up to them. The select board at the last meeting, they could change their mind at the hearing, decided that they wanted to try to sell the building and not worry about the town trying to purchase it.
Okay.
Oh, trailer park. Go on land you're on, but you own the trailer.
Great.
Yeah, and there's been a few people in town already that have purchased land and went to the state and got the chunk of land. So,
Yeah.
you know, a private owner could do that just as much as anybody else could or we could.
It's state property.
Underneath the
Yeah.
depot building, is state property. And then the last thing, the bigger spreadsheet you have, unless there's any more questions on that, is the undesignated and the fund balance that you guys had asked. So in the general fund, the fund balance is 1.927, Then there's water, sewer and TIF funds across there from 2023. The 2024 number just below that is the, I guess, unaudited numbers for this year. The yellow highlighted or audited number.
And, when it comes to the fund balance numbers, where it says general fund balance minimums, and it gives you the 8, 12, and 17%. That is incomplete data for 2025. We won't know until tax rate setting time what the amounts are for the school, the state, county, and Eastman.
But they're gonna be,
But,
Higher.
so that'll be up, so those will be higher. We will be updating that.
yeah, we should be
Once
looking
that
right now
comes.
for 2024, it's kind of our targets. So the 1.7, if you see that, it's above the 1.5. If you look at the 24, the 8%, which is the minimum of our policy, but we're not to the 12%. We're closer to the 8% at this time, 8 to 9%, like we talked at the last meeting.
So the good news is that 2025 is only $2,000 less from a town budget perspective than 2024. And then if we just use the school, state, school, local, county, and Eastman, we can pretty much go off those 24 numbers for our planning, right?
I think we go off the 24 numbers for planning for this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty easy at this point. The planning is, we're really close to our 8%, so we really should not be using undesignated fund balance at this time. We should be trying to grow that again.
Yeah.
So from a budgeting perspective, we should really just be trying not to use undesignated fund balance for that. We may have something as we come later in the project that's gonna fall into fund balance that we wanna kind of keep back out, but we'll talk to you as we go through that. But we should really not be trying to spend fund balance to pull the tax rate down or to do bigger projects at this time.
You learned that lesson. So what, on this one here, MS 434, the, 71,000 said voted from fund balance. That we would be taking that out of fund balance this year.
Yes, we had budgeted to,
So if we don't have to, like if we have 100, maybe 100,000, do we just leave it in?
it really,
Get close to that.
it really doesn't matter. I mean, that made sense, but if we took it out and we had extra money, it'll fall right back in. So it's, you know, whatever we don't expend will be falling in our balance.
But it's the tendency for in personal life is if you take it out, it doesn't always make it back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So my thought is leave it there if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, we definitely try to do that. And then one thing, just, it's always really hard to explain, but you know, the $1.9 million in fund balance doesn't mean we have $1.9 million in the bank. It's receivables, it's liabilities, it's could be land, things owned by the town. It's just a value number for accounting purposes that shows what we have available if absolutely necessary. So it just gets confusing because people will ask that, where's the 1.9 in the bank? It's not in the bank. There might be a little bit of it and I can't break that number down for you,
How
but
much of it is?
I don't know.
Doesn't know.
So I feel like I can't tell you how that breaks out. You can probably read through the audit and find it. It'd be a lot of work. So. Anyway, that's kind of how it works. Overall, it's just that safety cushion. It shows your net position. It shows how resilient the town can be if something were to happen. You know, so Moody's, those people that set your credit rating, we don't really view that here that much, but they would use your fund balance and a few other items to help set that rating. So. Yeah.
So I just, you know, we had this conversation. I'm just so uncomfortable with that. To say we have $1.9 million somewhere, but I can't tell you
Exactly where
it's 3 goats, a chicken and something, you know, I just.
Yep.
That's just so out of my world. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, and yeah, it's, if you think business finance, you gotta flip it on its head and it's completely opposite usually in government. You know, or budget is, it's driven off revenues and government's driven off expenses. It's a whole difference. It's really hard to make the jump.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain. It's a modified accrual. Things are accounted for very differently.
Yeah.
It's a really a different world. And I kind of grew up in it. I've never worked private business, you know, taking business classes, finance classes. So I know what they're thinking about there. But I've also, I worked in Jerome with the president of a bank that was the mayor for 6 to 7 years. And he would just go, I don't get it. I can't understand it. That's finance is what he did for a living.
Mhm.
It's just, it's different. So I can have the auditors help explain that when they come in a little bit, but
Yes.
it's all those different things. If someone didn't pay their taxes and it's still on the
Yeah.
books, it's.
So I'm not suggesting anything is wrong,
Yeah.
but I am suggesting if everything went south and a taxpayer said to me, you're on the budget committee, did you look into this $1.9 million that was out there somewhere? I couldn't look in the eye and tell them I had. So I really feel like personally, if it's not part of the budget committee, that seems kind of strange to me. But if it's not part of the budget committee, I'm gonna need to do it outside the budget committee because I have no confidence in that number right now. And I have confidence in you, Ed. That's not meant to be an endorsement.
Yeah. No, I can
Indictment.
with the auditor and it's gonna be in the audit, but it's, it's in those pages or whatever it is, sprinkled throughout of liabilities, prepaid expenses that are changed. As soon as we get the audit, it's changed.
Okay.
It's right.
No, that's a really good point. So let's explore that a bit. So does our auditor give us an opinion on this number every year?
He audits and sets that number every single year.
So this comes from the auditor.
Yes.
Yes,
All
everything
right.
that is in
Fill
yellow,
the- fill the-
those- all the numbers that are in yellow, that
Yeah.
are highlight, that comes from the audits.
Okay,
So when I adjust those from
The
where
gray
it's
one down
blue.
below that comes from us.
yeah,
Right.
It's our, this is where we think we are, and then the auditors will come in, they'll audit our books, they'll look through everything. They'll make auditors adjustments, like auditors always do, and then they'll say, here's your fund balance numbers. Here's this, and I can show you in the audit where all the fund balance numbers are.
Yeah.
I'd have to really dig through there to even see if we could find what makes up that audit number.
so I'm not looking to incur more expenses for the town. But by the same token, could we potentially, and I'll put this out to everybody else, if you don't think it's a good idea, we can scrap it, but would it be possible to get the auditor on a Zoom some night during a budget meeting and say, you're not gonna educate us completely in 12 minutes, but can you just walk us through briefly how you come up? with
Someday, and let me talk to him, because he usually comes and explains the new audit
Comes right.
every year.
that? Yeah,
So hopefully we get that audit before the end of this process. We'll get in here and I'll have him prepared to dig a little deeper. And if that doesn't look like it's gonna happen, we will get him here just to speak about that. But
okay.
I'd hate to have him back twice.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm not trying to, like I said, get another bill here.
And would that be for the 2024 budget? Because I understand that that's not completed yet. That audit has not been completed yet, as yet, or
It's
has
the 2024 audit for this year. It's always a year behind what we're doing. And then next year, come March timeframe, the 2025 audit will start.
And the 2024 is completed now?
No,
No,
That's why it's in gray.
as soon as it's done, you will get a copy and then we'll get the auditor in here to explain it and go through it.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks, Ed, appreciate it. Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Going over to the other side, the general fund balance minimums. I see in 2024, we have the same, we have 19,500,000. In 25, right now, we have the 7.6. Where does that 7.6 come from?
That's our number, right?
Yes,
Our budget number. The other one in before it includes. Is it?
It also includes the school,
Yeah.
the county, the Eastman, yeah.
So the 2025 numbers are not up to date. They're just our stuff.
So
which
that's,
comes from the MS 232 that we report to the state.
so that's what we,
So the town budget that you see there
yeah,
is what is the voted appropriations from town meeting,
okay,
exclusive of capital outlay and operating transfers out. So you're not gonna have water and sewer and the TIF fund in and outs in there.
okay. Gotcha, thank you. All right. And if I add last year, 24, school, county, Eastman, et cetera, that's gonna bring us to about 19.5 for this year. It's gonna bring us to 19.517. So if I just use those, so we're still within that $2,000 because
You could do it. Like I said, for planning purposes, I would use 2024
okay,
right now and. Cause if the school budget went up a little, county budget went up a little, it's gonna be wrong, but it's gonna be close. And like I said, if you're really looking at that, what we're looking there is, are we within our policy? Are we not within our policy? And we're really hovering around the minimum of our policy.
Mhm.
So again, the story is, we should be trying to build fund balance at this time, not use it.
I agree.
That's what that whole chart is for.
And then two more questions for you. What was where we have the railroad tracks in 2023? Do we know what that number was?
Oh,
We
The
can
cell
probably
is-
pull it out, it is, the cell was. too
Oh,
small.
for 2023?
Yes.
You just have to make the cell wider and then the numbers.
Yeah.
But that should be the 17,727,481 that you see as the total in the 2023 down below.
Okay, so this is just for my education. We were running at, 16 million for several years, then we jumped up to 17 and 23, and then 19.5 and 24. Is that the buildings? What caused that huge spike?
Some of it was probably, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that'll go into that.
What's the
but
school?
It may have been school, it may have been,
The school, yes, because between 2023 and 2024, the school went from 8.9 million to 9.5 million.
So that's
So
part,
that's a chunk.
600,000.
And then the rest was 23 to 24 then.
probably the buildings.
I'm quite sure that was the buildings.
Could we get some more color on that, going from the 23, 17, 727 to 24, 19, 529? That's a $2,200,000 jump.
But we can look at the town reports for it's all in the town reports. It's reported every year in your MS 737.
Okay,
That is that's the budget that the budget committee comes up with. That's where the numbers are from.
okay. So, do you want me just to go back on my own look at that, or do you think that's something the whole committee would benefit
If you
from?
want,
What's that?
we can pull the 737s that were reported. Or the MS 232s, and then you can see where the differences are.
Yeah, at least I probably should know it off the top of my head where that $2 million.
a big part of
Why we
it's
jumped
gonna
up,
be,
but I
the
don't.
big chunk of it's gonna be the building.
What's that?
The buildings. It's got
It's
to
the-
be the building.
It is the building.
14% increase and the 10% increase in it's the buildings is the biggest chunk of it.
Okay,
I mean, we were catching up on compensation at that time too, but that's not
Yeah.
gonna be a huge chunk of that, but it was
I'm not
part.
saying, I'm not saying it wasn't right. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking. Again, I go back to if I meet somebody at the dump and they say, do you
Right.
know we went up by $2 million from 23 to 24? And I go. Yeah, I have to look at the 727 and I haven't recently.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have that type of thing at the top of my brain and I don't.
Mhm.
And again, that's my fault, but
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of those things, but I would definitely start when you look at it at the building payments and the debt payments that are gonna be. In the 400,000 times, well, 300,000. And so,
It's almost,
you know,
well, you had to make an extra payment there too.
we had to make an extra payment on one of them. Yeah.
Learn from sponge the expenses versus the budget though.
Oh, yeah, we had to squeeze it in the budget. So yeah, the extra payment was squeezed into the budget.
okay.
I agree with Dan, though. I think it is to the benefit that we're sitting here in these chairs to understand these numbers that are flying around. And it's like, if we're sitting here and going, I don't know, I have no clue. And it's like, okay, why are we sitting in this chair then?
Yeah, it's certainly not a lot of downside to refresh us every year because I'm not that bright. I can't. remember
Yeah,
things
right.
well. Yeah, no. I can't remember.
And you're
Nancy's-
right, at some point, we have to explain this.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, and I mean, you can see it. That's really, I'm gonna say that's what it was. We can dig into it a little more, but 5.8 to 6.5 to 7.6. And then this year's 7.6. Again, it was over those few years when we were really bringing the building projects on.
Yeah, that's what I assume it probably is, but I'm just trying to think of there 3 or 4 things. In addition to the building projects that were the key drivers. What are the key drivers of this jump in our expenses over the last 5 years? Right. Thank you. Ed, was there more than that, or are we going through the chart of accounts discussion?
Nope, we can move on to chart of accounts discussion.
Anybody have any questions before we move on? David, anything from your end before we move on?
No, I gotta sit down and digest this as well further, but I don't have anything immediate. Thanks.
Thank you.
So the main thing, and I'll let Elisa talk about this some, but we're we're looking at revamping our chart of accounts as we're bringing on the new finance software that we agreed to bring on last year. And one of the things we've really been talking about, and we've actually, and I'll have the police chief really explain it in detail to you more, but the public safety building, as we moved the departments together, we moved some things, you know, some of the obvious ones are, we don't have 3 internet bills, we don't have 3 phone bills now, we're consolidating them. What we'd really like to do on office supplies, printing costs, those types of things is move those into a single budget for not just public safety, but town office right now. Every time we get a copier bill, we divide it down into a little bit for town clerk and a little bit for finance and a little bit for assessing and a little bit for executive. And it's just a lot of extra work and paperwork that I don't think we need to be able to add it up. If we needed to pull a report to say how much did we spend on copying for the clerks, we could add the same percentage to our total and say, this is about what we spent. So what we'd like to do is move a lot of those expenses that are all throughout all the different departments. Every department uses them and put them, I'm calling it by building, but you know, office expenses down here for DPW, office expenses for town. The other one I plan on moving, is, and I think we have just some extra money through the entire budget for things like this, is like recruiting. Every department holds a little bit of money in their budget for recruiting, and they may or may not have a vacancy. So if we can average what we actually spend and pull it into one account in the executive line, then we have, you know, $1,000 or $1,500 here instead of every department having $500 sitting there just in case they need to advertise. And so, but the main one I wanted to talk to the budget committee about, and Elisa may have some more examples, is just pulling together like janitorial supplies for the town, office supplies for each building instead of every building, and really simplifying our chart of accounts a little bit, taking some paperwork out, because when we code it into 6 different accounts, when they data enter it, they have to data enter 6 different lines in the accounting system instead of 1. And so I just wanted to have that conversation because it will pull a little bit out of every budget, and it's not quite as granular, but I don't know that it really needs to be. But I wanted to talk with the budget committee before we made a move like that.
For me personally, I feel like things like paper, telephone, that sort of things. You're right, Ed, I think needs to be more compressed and not quite so granular for those sort of things, but that's just my own opinion. Thinking about working in school environments and budgets and other things, and it just seems like, yeah, it is a lot of work to post all that stuff.
You know, the one place we will still have to do it is water sewer. Those are separate, so we'll have to pull their costs out to be billed for them, but.
And probably library, because there's a separate, so.
Well, I think it's a good idea. As you've gone through the years, you know, you go from centralized to decentralized, you're back to centralized. And the decentralization of this kind of stuff has just never made sense to me. You know, because you might run in here and make some copies from, and so Jim's gonna
I
get
do,
stuff
and I
like
usually try to skip around. DPW is paying for this one for the budget committee, and planning's paying for this one.
You don't need special ed.
You know, we'll still keep those codes and those things in, so we'll know who printed how much. I mean, I want to know some of that as a manager. If I'm trying to cut back printing, I can say, how come you're printing 3 times more than anybody else in the whole
Right.
town?
That was my question.
That was my question.
When you decentralize, that's how you control costs.
Yep.
And when something grows in a big hunk, right? You have to have a way to drill down to say
Right.
who's maybe abusing this, or it could cut back some.
Yeah.
So I think,
well, coding it into the machine is one thing,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
actually managing the accounting.
Yeah,
Is something
the one
else.
word I wrote down was accountability, so
yeah.
I'm in favor of it, but I think it adds another challenge for your managers. It's much easier just to do something when the bill's going somewhere else, when it's in your department. You
Most
tend
of,
to watch it a little bit more.
most of your machines require a code or something.
All
Right.
photocopiers do,
Yeah.
except for the ones that are specific to, you know, there's some printers for specific individuals.
I think
Like
that's
the town.
part of the reason though, we talked like, instead of doing townwide office supplies, it'll be this building,
Yeah.
public safety. I mean, all
Right.
DPW runs out of here and Jim will be watching it. The only thing we have right now is Rob and Vinny are in here too, but, you know, that'll still be overseen by one going, well.
Yeah.
Calm down, and I guarantee you, they're still ordering all together right now. They're still watching the same budgets. They're just doing the paperwork a little different. And so I don't want to centralize that much, and we have had that conversation. That I don't want one townwide office supply thing. I want- This is the town offices, including the clerks, and we
Yeah.
can kind of watch that and say, you know, it's- Elisa usually orders for us anyway.
I order everything for everybody
Yeah.
in the town office.
Can you refresh my memory on how the implementation of the new software is happening, like time frame?
Timeframe, it's looking like April of next year is when they'll get it done and in. I was trying to push them to January, but they're too busy to get that done.
Okay, and, but didn't we split the cost over 2 years? So-
Yeah, you'll see the second half coming in this next budget year.
Okay,
So half of it was in this year. We will, it looks like, have some funds that we'll need to encumber, and then we'll put some funds in this year. So most of the payments look like they're gonna go out next year unless they start working on this really soon. But we did budget it over a 2-year timeframe. The difference that we will see, that I was hoping we could make the switch in January, is we'll have a little bit of overlap of our old system while we're preparing the new system. So that was really the chart of accounts discussion. I just wanted to weigh in and get your guys' opinion before we continued working to agglomerate things. Like I said, the police chief can talk about that a little more because he really saw some of that on the office supplies and things as he worked with the other two chiefs to make the budget this year. I think they're right around the $8,000 worth of savings, just moving into one building and consolidating.
That's great.
So
I could use it all. Don't worry. It will be done.
Yet they'll still know how much each department is using, the codes.
Sure.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we'll be breaking it down. Office supplies probably won't be broken down codes that way, but he'll know if, pick on Richard, but if Richard comes in and he's getting a box of pens every week, he'll be like, well, what's going on? But
2026 budget review.
I don't have a lot for you guys. I just wanted to put this on. We had budget review. We had a good discussion last time. I didn't know if there was anything you guys really wanted to continue talking about 2026. I can let you know that I went through the budget again today. We're really, really close to being able to put it into AccuFund. I asked Elisa today to pull the revenue budget so I can start working on that. So we should be able to be starting to present to you the budget next time. I don't know if I'll have quite enough information to really paint a picture of where we're sitting at the next meeting, but we're moving in that direction. We are planning, or we're using the July matrix on compensation as we've agreed the past couple of years. That's sitting at 3.2%, the Boston metric for year-to-year compensation increase. And then I can talk about that a little more. I have on the schedule in the future to do compensation a little more in depth on what we're looking at. I put some numbers in, but I want to look at what the overall budget looks like before I finalize any of that. But I did do, as I told you guys, we started the rolling 1/3 town, 1/3 town, 1/3 town, like we talked about. We did DPW, and they actually put our building inspector in there too. I don't know how it slipped through the cracks, but he got in. So we did DPW plus the building inspector and got that updated. I got a really good price from someone. We ended up paying just a little over $2,000 for them to do a statewide study based on the same criteria that we used in our compensation study. So we were down a little bit on DPW. They really didn't get much bump the last couple of years because the year right before I started, Jack had pushed a pretty good increase through for DPW. So when we did the compensation study, they were close, but we did do that. And then I can show you guys when we get there that we've started building a career ladder that I talked to you guys about, where we broke the positions apart a little more, but like our light equipment operator, we've created a step 1, step 2, step 3 based on experience and training. So, we did have for a while, we've had light equipment operators that have been here about 5 years and light equipment operators that were new, and we needed a way to really differentiate them from each other. So we've created that to start to build some sort of system where people can move through DPW. We've done the same thing in the police department a little bit. We didn't do step 1, step 2, step 3, but we've built a couple positions like, well, the sergeant corporal position, we're gonna have both in our department, but we're only gonna fill one. So someone with little experience can move in the corporal position, and a few years later with experience and training can move up to a sergeant, and then we'll have the corporal position vacant. And this adds a little bit more of a ladder when we have a small staff to allow some advancement. So that's kind of where we're sitting overall. And like I told you, we're really close to having a default budget as well. So we'll try to get that done hopefully by the next meeting, but we'll have that done soon so we can start to review that. By statute, technically the default budget, I think I told you last time, is the select boards to determine, but I think I can probably speak on behalf of the select board that they would take any recommendation from the budget committee as well. So we'll be talking about that.
And we had talked about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm
What was that?
agreeing with Ed.
There is a formula. It's actually a pretty laid out formula.
Ed, we talked about each department when they come in to present their budget and then to also present what the default would be so that we could look at the two in
I
comparison.
can get you those together. The departments won't be presenting the default. I can present that on their.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah.
It's a really strict formula
Yeah.
from the state. It's really last year's budget minus one-time expenses. And you can add to it any increased contracts like things. So like Casella that has a 2.5% increase, you can add that in because it's contracted in to do that. But other than that, that's exactly, it's a strict formula that we're really not supposed to deviate from either. So
I went to the budget workshop virtually today, and
Oh, good.
when you go, I think.
25th,
Going in
yeah.
person, 20, they'll go through that.
Excellent. No, good deal.
So, if you read the law too, it's pretty straightforward. This is what you do. You minus these out, you do that.
Yeah.
If there's a complex part at all, it's, there's always some things that fall in that little gray area of a one-time expense. We know some things that, oh, we're gonna buy this year and we're not gonna buy that again. That's really easy. But there's other maintenance types things that are like, was it not? And so we'll have some of those discussions at the select board level.
It's exactly the way you just laid it out.
In the case of, I know this isn't in our purview at the CIP, but that's going to be a separate warrant article, and should that get voted down entirely, there's no default thing
There's
for
no
that,
default for
right?
CIP.
Right.
And that'll be presented to you guys, I think in a couple meetings we have planned as soon as the CIP is kind of done with their plan.
Mhm.
They'll come in and they'll present to you what they're planning to present, just so you guys have an idea of what that looks like.
And it's advisory.
That's advisory, yeah. It's just more to let you guys know.
Learn that.
So, and then I really didn't lay anything out, but I know, John, you've asked a few times about S2. We've given you calendars. We can give you another calendar, but there's really not a lot of differences besides creating that default budget. The calendar's compressed a little bit. And then we have the deliberative session, which is where you finalize the warrant and then we get it out. So, changes can be made there on, just like it can at town meeting, but you finalize the budget, you finalize any warrant articles, and they go out for voting. So there's really not a lot of change on the select board side of things or the budget committee side of things, except we need to get things done just a little bit sooner.
Quite a bit sooner.
It's actually, on the budget side, it's actually not a lot
No?
sooner. I think a week or two, maybe more than we normally had done it anyway, and, you know, we had it so we could have time to get the town report out, those types of things. Now we're really just doing the deliberative session before we release the town report. So it's a little bit sooner than we've done before, but it's, I think it really came down to like one meeting of the budget committee difference.
Does the town report lose its functionality?
No, no,
No?
we'll just have the little meeting before, and then these are the warrant articles, these are the narratives about the warrant articles, all those things that you will be voting on come town meeting day in the ballot booth instead of.
So it just has to be done more rapidly,
Yeah.
early,
Well, actually, no.
no?
The town report still has to be available a week before voting day. So that's gonna be a week before March 10th or 11th. whatever.
And we will.
Okay, it doesn't have to be available for the deliberative section.
No.
No, the warrant, yes, the draft warrant has to be available before that, but not the whole town report.
The final warrant will go in.
Which we usually had done
Yeah.
by the end of January anyway, and deliberative sessions February 7th, so we're those last couple weeks of January, getting that done, posting it, having it out, we're right in the time frame. So we're trying to get everything done beginning, middle of January is what most of it looks like, and then roll it out for people to look at, come to deliberative session. Then we'll set the final warrant really there, because they can make amendments. And then it goes out in the town report and the voting day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Still the second Tuesday in March.
Yep.
Hey, David, any comments from you? I know it's difficult sometimes on Zoom.
It's gone.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
all right, thanks, David. Good, comments from the public, nobody else on? Tracy, anything? No. Okay, good.
I was just
Shirley, go
gonna
ahead.
say, even though I've been on the budget committee a long time, I found a day of great review. Lots of things.
Excellent.
Shirley, was this a part of the training that we went to? Sometimes Bill, or by,
Probably, yeah, we went to an in-person one,
yeah,
yes. Quite a few years ago.
oh, it happened to my book. I read it.
But there's been things that have changed.
Yeah.
Since that, well, that's why it's important to keep up with them. Yeah.
Very good, I look forward to it.
But it explained the process.
Pardon me?
You came to an understanding of the process and how it's different. So,
Yeah.
it'll give you an understanding.
Yeah, no, I think I can learn a lot. Motion to adjourn, anybody?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Aye. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, I'm so sorry.